Hey parents, this is a short video to explain to you about the Teton Science School and the 8th grade trip from Scholar Academy. Teton Science School is in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. It's 2 miles from the actual city town of Jackson Hole and 307 miles from Scholar Academy, which equates to 5 hours and 11 minutes. Last year, with a storm on the way home, they did have to reroute to the 5 hour and 20-minute one, but just so you know, that's about how far it is. The dates that our school has chosen to go this year is March 18th through the 22nd. The students will leave on a Monday. They'll come to school with all their luggage, and then around 9 they'll leave. They will return that Friday, which is 5 days total. On Friday, when they return, it'll be more around 5 o'clock, seems to be the time. The week after they return will be spring break, which is kind of nice. On the trip up there, they're going to bring a sack lunch and snacks for the ride, and then again, they'll return around 5. We as a school do stop on the way back and buy them lunch. And when the bus gets close, about 1 hour away, that's when we'll call and send a message out to you parents so you can come and get your students. Here's some pictures from the past where we've gone. This one we saw a moose as we were up
He is
there.
very beautiful.
Kind of gives you a
Wow, he's
view of
like,
what it
I
looks
think
like.
he's turning this way.
Yeah, he is posing.
Oh, absolutely. Here, let me move out of your way. You need to get the.
So some of the wildlife out there is pretty fun, and they get some real up close and personal experiences. This shows a few pictures, one of the ropes course that the students are able to go through, as well as one of the evening presentations where the students come up with stuff that they've learned from their research throughout the program. This case, they did kind of a Jeopardy Family Feud type program. This is a nice group of pictures to show some observing of animals, learning how to read maps and topographical maps, as well as just hanging out in their dorms on some off time. Each morning, the students will participate in group activities to get started before they go out into the field. And in this one, you can see them working on a team balancing activity on the giant board, as well as just playing a few fun games as a group getting started. The teachers that are going this year are Mr. Mendoza, Mrs. Robinson, Mrs. Morgan, and Mr. Hall. All right, let's talk about the dorms. A lot of your students, this is their first time away. We want you to know that the dorms themselves are very comfortable. The floors are heated, which means the heating of the whole building goes through the floor through pipes. Most rooms for the dorms have 5 beds, 4 to 5 beds, and with that 4 to 5 beds, that group shares one restroom and one shower unit. So we also have a lounge area that's assigned to us as a school where students can go sit in the couches, lots of board games and places where they can sit and visit. All right, let's get to the nitty gritty. So here's an example of what happens each day. So the first day, students arrive on Monday. They're traveling most of the day. When they do get there, they have dinner, they learn about their dorms and where to put stuff, and then eventually have an evening program, lights out. And then the next day, they really begin what they're going to be doing for the next 3 days. So they wake up, they have breakfast, they pack a lunch at breakfast because they're going to be out in the field. Pretty much that means a lot of them will go in a bus and drive to the Tetons for their field work. A lot of what they do in that field work depends on the group. So it's really kind of a neat experience where the leaders of that group will customize the experience for the group. So, for example, the 12 students in a group may express that they're very interested in studying animals. Another group of 12 students may express that they like studying the landscape. Well, the leader will kind of customize their experience at the Teton Science School on that. The group I was with really enjoyed animals, and we went snowshoeing, observing some of the animals, taking notes on it. The next day, we took binoculars and went and observed how many times they stopped to eat versus how much movement they had and kind of graphed that. And then eventually, presented that for the other groups. So while another group studied the depth of the snowpack, and they did several digs and then measured the depth of the snow while recording also the temperature and learned a totally different thing. So when we talk about them in the field groups will actually learn very differently depending on the interests of the kids. So from 9 o'clock until they return at 4 o'clock, they're out in the field. They have their lunch while they're out there in that time. Okay, then they return back. They'll have dinner. They have an evening program. They do get some free time to be with friends. They actually have pretty good amounts of time. And then they return back to their rooms and lights out at 9:45. And then the next day they repeat. So they'll have breakfast, um, pack their lunch for the next day, then they'll go out in the field, do some science and study, hiking, and then come back again around 5:30, have their programs, and then do that again the third day. The last day they kind of have a final presentation where they pack and then clean up their dorms, and then they head back to Tooele. So that kind of gives you a general outline of what it looks like there. There's plenty of time for spending with friends. The hikes are not too difficult, and we'll get into that here in a minute. Here's a quick overview of what the dorms look like. This doesn't mean that that's exactly what they'll be like, but this is our experience in the past. You'll notice that down here, the boys' dorms, these rooms is where they had the 5 beds, the 2 sets of bunk beds, and then one floor bed. And attached, they had the bathroom and the shower area. Um, Last year, the first year the girls had dorms just like this, but last year it was a little different where the girls each had rooms with the bunks and the beds, but then across the hall they had restrooms with showers and the restroom as well. But either way, they do a great job at giving you privacy, but also giving you lots of options while you're there. All right, the expectations. If you're sending your students, we want you to be aware that we expect them to be on their best behavior. If anything does happen that results in an unsafe situation and your student is responsible, they will be required to go home. And in that case, you as the parent are required to come and get them. We only like to tell you this because we want you to be aware. Give that some consideration when sending them to make sure that they understand they must be on their best behavior. Otherwise, you would have to come and get them. All right, here's the heartbreak. No cell phones on the trip. They can bring them with them and use them on the trip, on the bus trip up there, but during the time up there at the Tetons, they're stored away and then they'll receive them on the trip back on the bus. The reason they do this is the Teton Science School has said they want the students to have a distraction-free trip. So they won't be able to use their devices during that time. Now, as far as contacting us, the teachers all will have cell phones. And in all honesty, a lot of these kids being their very first trip away, they get homesick. And we have never denied a student a chance to be able to talk to their parents. So we always will accommodate that. There are some students who do not want to talk or call, and that's fine as well. So you do have some opportunities to talk to them if you need to, but the truth is no news is good news. If you're not hearing anything, then your student's doing fine. Thanks. All right, gear. We're not going to go super specific into this till the next meeting, which is closer to the actual one. But in general, the weather up there is unpredictable, so we have students plan on bringing very warm clothes. We do request snow pants, snow coat, gloves, and a beanie. The school itself does have those items if they forget, but the idea that we can't guarantee how well they will fit if they get them from the school is the idea behind that. So start thinking ahead about getting some of those things. A lot of parents like to get them for Christmas for the kids, planning up, but truthfully, it's up to you how that happens. But keep in mind, there also is the chance if they do forget something, there's a way to help them out there up the school. All right. A lot of questions the students have is like, how are the hikes? Are they super hard? What's it like up there? And the answer is the hikes are mellow with lots of breaks. There might be little strenuous stretches. We don't want you to make you think that it's not difficult, but the truth is they will not push these kids to the point of exhaustion. And in fact, they give them so many breaks. It actually is very, very nice. While on the hikes, one of the concerns is how to use the restroom if you're out in the field all day. But the staff does an amazing job of keeping the kids comfortable and making sure that they are easy to get through those difficult situations. So they actually have code words: chase the coyote and chase the bear. If you have to go number one, you'll tell the staff member, "Hey, I got to go chase a coyote." And if you got a number two, you'd say, "Hey, I got to go chase the bear." And they are able to strategically find ways for you to be able to pull away from the group while they're all distracted, and they have um, that help them be discreet and also feel comfortable in that situation. I've never had a student who's come back and gone, "Oh my gosh, that was difficult." So just rest your mind at ease. They have that very well taken care of. You do travel on buses in and out of the Teton National Park quite frequently. They're little buses, but they do a good job at customizing that to the kids. There is a gift shop as well, and they can bring money. Things they can buy there are sometimes t-shirts, hoodies, magnets, and a few other things. In the lounge area and with their free time, we do allow students, if they want to bring cards or a small board game, they are welcome to do that. And there's a good chance they'll be able to do that while they have some recreational time. All right, on these trips, safety is key. One of the requirements is that students are within eye shot or earshot of the Tooele Science School staff at all times, as well as the scholar staff. On hikes, they will be with the staff who have direct communication with the field office. So if there's an emergency, they are within the 2 mile radius and are able to get people out real quick. So just so you can rest at ease that there's not going to be a time where there's no communication. They always have communication while out in the field. If one of your concerns is medication, your child's on a medication, it actually is very easy to take care of. When the time comes, you will let me, Mr. Hall, or Mr. Brandon in the front office know. We store those medications in a lockbox. We do ask that you give us some directions on where those are given and what times those are given, and then we'll make sure that they are given to your student either in the morning, while out on the field, or at night, and take care of that. We have had students who've had many medications that have been able to do and have had no problems. But if you do have a concern, please feel free to let us know and we'll take care of that for you. This is a number that you are able to call if there is an emergency. We do realize it's once in a while there is the type of emergency you'd have to get in contact with your child, and this is that number. But we also do say that if you contact the front office of the school or Miss Gailey, that actually would be just as fast because all the teachers do have access to their cell phones while up there, so we could get that information ASAP. So we want you to know that there are multiple ways you can contact while your child is up there. All right, we do share the Teton Science School with other students. In the past, we've had students from California and Montana. We may even share the same buildings with them, but we really don't do much with them. The majority of the time that they will be in contact with each other is just in the mess hall at lunchtime. And students do get to know a few kids from the other school, but as far as activities and outings, we do not do other things with them during that time. All right, here's a couple question and answers that we have had before. Um, First one is, does your student have to make up the work they missed while they're gone? And the answer is absolutely not. The work that they do at the Teton Science School will go towards their schoolwork, and all the students who stay behind and choose not to go will be doing assignments, and those will be theirs. But while your student is at the Teton Science School, they do not have additional work. Okay. The second question, which I do not have on here, can my student choose which roommates they can have? The answer to that is yes, for the most part. We do want to accommodate. This is a big thing and a big financial thing for your family. So we want it to be the best experience for your kid. So if you ask them to room with certain kids, we will do our best to try and get as many of those kids together and find someone that they feel comfortable with. That's not always possible because the rooms do limit to 4 or 5, but we do try to make it so they at least have somebody that they can be with. All right, getting down to the nitty gritty. The cost of the trip is $400. I do want to point out Mrs. Gailey has put a lot of the funding that's been available towards this to cut down the cost. The actual cost is in the 600s. But because we want to make this attainable for many more people, she's been able to work on paying a lot of that down for you guys. The way that looks, we have three options for payment. You can pay it all in full November 1st, $400. If that's not ideal for you, we do break it down into payments of two, of 200 each, November 1st and February 15th. And then the third option is three payments broken down, November 1st, $133, January 8th, and then March 1st, $134. So hopefully these will work. Now, we do have some options for scholarships, but the truth is because of the funding that's gone into paying this down, there's not as many scholarship options as we've had in the past. If you would like to find out if that works for you and if that's available, please set up a meeting with Miss Gailey and she'll discuss whether or not that works. In that case, they would end up doing service around the school, cleaning, staying after school for an hour, doing special activities such as the father-daughter dance, the daddy-daughter dance, a few other activities that we have set up. They just volunteer to help, and that would help them pay for that trip. We do need to know by October 5th your intention. Now, what that means is just whether you're going to go or not. So if you do want to go, please notify the front office. You can tell Miss Gailey, me, Mr. Hall, or the front office, and we will add your name to a list. There are limited spots of 45 students. Again, the cost is $400, and there are a few scholarships available. If you want to try those, please contact Mrs. Gailey. How to pay for this? There's two ways, cash in the front office or a check in the front office. We did attempt to do digitally last year, which did not work well, so we are limiting it to these two options, cash or check in the front office. All right, we talked about the scholarship again, the service auction, the daddy-daughter night, the talent show, Christmas candygrams are several different ways that students will be able to volunteer their time if they're able to get one of those scholarships. All right, so this ends the presentation. So just a quick reminder, we need to know your intention by October 5th. The cost is $400. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Mr. Hall, Miss Gailey, or the front office, and we'll help you the best we can. Thanks.